James Charles just launched his new brand Painted last week, and it looks like there's already some issues with it. It's a mess, so let's get into it. Last week, James launched his brand Painted, with his first product being his Create paints. These were face paints that James claims to have all these different kind of uses, from being face paint, lipstick, eyeshadow, eyeliner, and so much more. James managed to sell out of a few shades of his paints, and he says that he already ordered more and a restock will be happening anytime now. After James launched his website, people started to take a closer look at his paints and noticed something concerning. He has this one paint called Left on Red, and it's this really pigmented red shade. Here's the issue. When you take a look at the ingredients list, there appears to be some concerning things in there. Kevin James Bennett was the first person I saw call this out, and he looked at the ingredients list and noticed the red paint has red 28 and red 36 in it, and both of those ingredients are not FDA approved for the eye area. Many brands do still use red 28 and red 36 in their products. The alternative would be to use carmine, which is FDA approved, but since carmine is crushed beetles, it's not vegan. Since these colorants aren't FDA approved yet, brands typically change the wording from eyeshadow to pigment and put a clear warning telling customers the red isn't intended for the eye area. If James had a warning on his website, then that would be fine. All you have to do is make sure your customers are informed so they can know the risks and decide whether or not they feel safe to use them. These colorants typically cause a lot of staining, and since the eye area can be really delicate, if you're scrubbing there trying to get it off, it can be pretty irritating. The problem is, James didn't disclose that or even put a warning anywhere on his website. In fact, his website not only shows the red being used all over the eyes, but the description literally tells you to use it on your eye area. How to: apply with a painted detail liner brush for a wing, graphic liner, or any art. Use a painted crease brush to cut the crease. Set with eyeshadow for increased pigmentation and wearability. Tap a small amount onto the lid, blend out for a smoky eye. No warning anywhere. Haus Labs has a very similar product to James, and they also have a red paint, and it actually has 2 warnings. The first warning pops up as soon as you click the red shade, and it says, "Do not use on eyes." And then there's another warning in the description telling you that some of the shades have usage restrictions. A lot of people think that this could land James in a lot of trouble with the FDA. We don't know if it's going to be at least disclosed on the package, but so far, there's nothing on the website. Huda actually got in trouble for something very similar. When she launched her Neon Obsessions palette, she also used colorants not approved for the eyes, and instead of being upfront about it, she hid it. The warnings were placed behind the outer packaging so people couldn't see, and she found herself in the middle of a huge lawsuit and paying nearly $2 million to settle. James has done multiple videos now showing him using different paints on the eyes, and not once has he said anything. He even did a Q&A about his brand a few days ago, and he didn't say a thing, even though everyone has been asking him to address it. James spent nearly 4 years on this launch? You would think he would at least have the legal stuff all in order before launching it. That's not the only legal issue James might be facing. Remember how we talked about James bringing attention to the fact that Beyonce and a whole bunch of other celebrities wore his Create paints?
When I got my final samples from the lab a couple of months ago, one of the first things that I did was text a couple of celebrity makeup artist friends and ask if I could send them a little package. I made it super clear there was no pressure to post or use them, but if they did get a chance to play, I would love to hear their honest thoughts and feedback. It's been a couple of months, but I cannot believe some of the faces that Painted has ended up on all before we launch next week. Nicki Minaj, #1, the GOAT, is wearing our blueprint paint on her eyes thanks to the incredible Diana Shin. The beautiful Becky G is wearing ink, our black paint, as an eyeliner. Armando Cole did this beautiful rainbow look on BB and cut her crease using our Pinky Promise paint. Alexis Oakley blended out ink for a stunning black smoky eye on Avril Lavigne. Her makeup artist Erica LaPearl used blueprint as a liner. And last but not least, Queen Bee.
And I was telling you guys that I found that kind of odd because he's using the celebrity names and they don't even know that his paints were being used on them. Their makeup artists were the ones that used them, and James is using their endorsement as free advertisement, and a lot of people said it felt wrong. Well, James took things a step further. He printed the celebrities' faces on his pamphlet for his brand, and he's using their name and their face to sell his brand.
forgot to show you guys this little pamphlet that I included as well, just with some photos of the campaign and information about the launch.
When I saw this, I just thought, like, there has to be some law against this. Imagine getting your makeup done, the MUA uses some brand on you that you don't even know about, never heard of before, and without your knowledge, you end up being printed in a brand poster helping James sell his paints. It just feels wrong, and apparently it is. There's something called the right to publicity, and Medium.com did a whole article breaking down what that means, writing, "The right of publicity has multiple definitions, but it goes a little something like this. It is the state-by-state law that dictates how a person's name and likeness can be used for commercial purposes without their consent." Despite being very public-facing figures, celebrities do have the right of publicity, allowing them to control the commercial use of their respective names, image, or likeness, or the other unequivocal aspects of their own identities. It allows them to keep their image and likeness from being commercially exploited without permission or contractual compensation. The right of publicity can be violated when a company uses a celebrity's name or likeness for advertising purposes without their explicit permission. It is the reason that all celebrities used in advertisements or endorsements sign consent or release agreements. So if a celebrity uses your brand, you aren't free to automatically take their picture and use it in your advertisements to sell your product. If a celebrity does post a picture wearing your product, you could comment on their Instagram and thank them for wearing it and just hope people see it. Or you could reach out to them and their team and come to some kind of agreement, but you can't just use their endorsement without their permission. James using this on his TikTok and printed on his pamphlet for his brand seems like he's maybe breaking the law here. Of course, there is the possibility that James reached out to the makeup artist who used his paints on them and got them to ask their clients if it was okay, but that does seem pretty unlikely to me. I'm sure Beyonce gets paid millions to endorse a product, and since James is controversial, that seems like a risky endorsement. Patrick Starr just got into some trouble for pretty much the exact same thing. Beyonce's makeup artist, similar to what he did for James, used Patrick Starr's One Size Beauty Until Dawn setting spray on Beyonce during one of her concerts, and he decided to take Patrick and One Size in his Instagram post, writing, "At Patrick Starr, I love you. Your setting spray helped us through the show, at One Size, and then the approve symbol." Patrick then went on to, of course, post multiple TikToks calling attention to the shout out he got.
Beyonce is wearing Until Dawn setting spray. So her makeup artist Raquel, who I've known for years, is her makeup artist on tour. And last night in the concert, it rained, and he texted me today at 2:14 p.m., One Size spray come through. And I was like, what? Let me show you the video. Do you see? It is legit raining at her concert. And I'm gonna show you what he captioned on his Instagram. You see it says Washington, D.C., night 2. Oh my gosh, and it says right here, built for the elements, rain or shine, B did her thing, at Beyonce. Shout out to Neil on the hair. This is where I'm dying right now. It says, Patrick Starr, I love you. Your spray helped us get through the show at One Size. Oh, and also, guys, I said, bitch, do you need more or what? He goes, I have enough to get me to Vegas. Can you bring me some there? Yes. And he goes, the dancers love it too. And I said, say less. So I guess I'm going to Vegas. Beyonce is wearing Until Dawn.
No way.
Yeah, it was raining last night, and her makeup artist said that he used it on her in the rain.
What was it? In her concert?
Yeah,
Out in the open?
yeah.
Where was she?
I don't know, but
Oh, I guess I'm so sad.
All these articles also started popping up that looked like paid sponsorship articles, all talking about the setting spray and how it helped Beyonce through her concert. After people heard that Beyonce was using the setting spray, it sold out almost right away. But some people did feel a little bit weird about Patrick's video. Some people thought it was him using her endorsement as a way to push his product without Beyonce actually knowing that she was wearing that product. Shortly after that, Beyonce's makeup artist actually deleted his shout out to Patrick and one size from his caption. So did Beyonce's team see this and they were like, you can't do that? Or was he just getting a lot of backlash and didn't want to deal with it? I know there are loopholes to acknowledge that a celebrity used your product, but printing their name and picture on your promo flyer just because their makeup artist used it seems wrong. I also wanted to talk about the first review that I've seen posted for Painted. Everyone's been wondering what influencers would end up supporting James on his launch, and so far, it looks like James has Manny's support. Manny posted a review of the paints.
I think it's time for a brutally honest review of Miss Painted. I have no blush on because I want to use the pink one, Miss Pinky Promise, as blush today. I'm gonna take a little bit. That's lovely. Look how pigmented these are, you guys. Holy crap. I'll take a good like 15 seconds before they dry down too. So be aware of that. Like, you don't have forever to blend them out, but you do have a good amount of time. Taking J1, and we're gonna put it all over the lid, and then I'll blend out after with the dense blender. Look how like full coverage this is. A little dense blender I was talking about. And we're going to run that, and I'm gonna kind of blend out to make a smoky eye. I will say immediately that these are extremely pigmented and very easy to blend out because they are blending. I was a little nervous because, you know, with paint, you never know, but they're very thin but full coverage. Okay, J5 brush and the ink black shade. And let's see how it goes on. Extremely black. Full coverage, very pigmented. Wow, I like it. I feel like it dries down to a really nice matte finish. That's pretty sickening, bitch. By the way, I did add a powder blush and a little bit of highlighter on top of the cream. So I don't want you to think like, oh my God, look at the blush. It's like, yes, it's my base blush and it was great. But I have powder and I have highlight on top. Lastly, let's take Left on Red and we're gonna put that on the lips and see if we can use it as a lipstick. These are so shockingly thin and full coverage. It's actually kind of like a gag. This is it on the lips. Very full coverage. It's a little dry for me. I feel like I'm not really into like the mattifying lips anymore. And this is pretty matte, like, oh, yeah. Damn.
And a lot of people in the comments were calling Manny out for this review. There were a lot of people in the comments who were upset to see him supporting James, and then there were people who felt like his review was very biased. Many people pointed out the fact that the brown paint looked incredibly patchy on him, writing, "Oop, that brown be patchy." But were you actually brutally honest? It looks kind of muddy. Came to the comments to make sure I wasn't the only one peeping the patchy shadow. Come on, Manny, you're better than that. Manny actually decided to give the brown paint a second try and came to its defense. He claimed the product wasn't patchy and said it probably looked that way on camera because of a skin condition he has on his eyelids and the fact that he didn't wear any concealer.
So I have a lot of comments in this video about the brown paint looking patchy on camera. I'm gonna show you guys in real time how it goes on. No edits, no cuts when applying it. I'm gonna take the Cold Brew by Painted. So you guys can see. So I have vitiligo, right? It's a skin condition where I lose pigment in areas of my face and I have it all around my eyes. And that's why my eyes are so veiny, because I'm missing a lot of pigment there. So when you're applying something like this, which is a cream, it's gonna go on darker where I apply it. And then as I'm blending it outwards, it's going to lighten up. So let's take a little bit of it, not a lot. I mean, if you want to take a lot, absolutely take a lot, but I'm just taking a little bit because I want to just apply it. So where I'm applying it, it is very, you know, pigmented, full coverage. And as I'm going outwards, I'm blending it and it's getting lighter because I'm using lighter pressure and I'm actually blending the shade. It's not that it's patchy, it's that the part where it's a little bit more sheer as I'm blending is showing more of my veins because of my vitiligo. So I know it might have looked patchy on camera, you know, it's very HD on this camera, but I promise you, it's actually not patchy. It's really not. But as you can see, it's not that it's patchy. It's that my veins, because of my vitiligo, pop through and it seems like, oh, it's kind of like patchy looking, you know?
I'm starting to think that maybe James marketing this product as a universal thing that can be used for everything wasn't the best idea. James did a full face using his paints video, and he used it for foundation, blush, eyeshadow, lips. It just seems like there's way easier products to work with if you want a blush or an eyeshadow or like a lipstick. If James wants his brand to be more artistry driven, then he should have just said, these aren't a beginner friendly product and it might not be for everyone, but if you're into face paint, then this is for you. I just can't see people reaching for these paints for their everyday use instead of products that were actually made specifically for certain areas. It was definitely a bit of a risky launch item, but we'll just have to wait and see people's reviews. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.